Chapter 2 of The Adventures of Tommy Blake by Brother Ernest Ryan. This Librivox Recording is in the public domain. Off again. The next day was a very uneasy one for Mrs. Blake. In spite of the fact that she had left strict orders to Tommy not to pass by Katie's, she could hardly wait until closing time to hurry off to him. She trusted him to observe her commands, but she had a strange feeling that something might happen to him. What was there to prevent anyone from breaking into the house if determined to do some harm to the boy? "No car today, Mother. I watched very carefully, and so did Miss Shanahan. Perhaps we have become alarmed over something we need not worry about at all. But I believe in being careful, Mother." "Sure, and I think you're worrying too much about that car, Mrs. Blake, though I do say it's best to be on the safe side these days. Glory be to St. Joseph. 'Tis a pity folks can't be safe anywhere in this country. Sure, in Ireland things are not like this. I never heard of people being afraid to stay in their own houses or even out in their own yards." "But we're far away from Ireland, Delilah Shanahan." "And a pity it is. I often wish I were there again. God love it." "May I go to school tomorrow?" put in Tommy. "Yes, Tommy. Delilah, you go a long part of the way and be ready at about the same distance when school is out. I am sure no harm will come to Tommy if he is with you." "God pity the man who would try to get the lad while I'm about. He'd find he had his hands full." But that day likewise no one showed up, and so life seemed about to go on peacefully to the great satisfaction of all concerned. On Wednesday afternoon Miss Shanahan was given a brief holiday, and Tommy and a few classmates romped along their homeward way together. "I'm expecting Mother to come to meet me in our car, Tom," said Jimmy McNamara, "and if she gets here we'll be glad to take you home. When she's coming she's usually here by this time, but things often happen which upset her plans. Here she is. Come, Tommy." Up to the curve drove a fine big car with a well-dressed lady of about 35 in it. "Mother, this is Tom Blake. I told him we'd take him home. He doesn't live very far, but I know he would enjoy a little ride with us." "By all means, Tommy. I'll be glad to have you. Jimmy has often spoken to me about you." "Don't bother about me, Mrs. McNamara. I have only a short way to go, so I'll walk along with the other boys here. Thanks just the same." "I'll be glad to take all of them if you wish, Tommy. There is certainly plenty of room in the car. What do you say?" "No, thanks. We'll soon be home. We need the exercise after being in school all day." "Good bye, Tommy," shouted Jimmy as the car pulled away. "So long, fellows." "So long, Jim," came from the five on the sidewalk. "We'll see you tomorrow." A short time after that a second car came along. In it were two well-dressed men, one driving and the other slouching in the back seat. They drove by leisurely, almost unnoticed by the boys. Even Tommy paid little attention to the car, for it was not the one he had been watching for. Soon the boy was home. He went in and, of course, found no one there. He locked the door behind him as his mother had told him to do. Then, as was his custom on returning from school, he went out into the kitchen, where a little lunch was spread for him on the table. After he had eaten, he stretched himself upon the bed and was soon asleep. How long Tommy slept he did not know, but into his dream came a voice as of someone calling him. He awoke. It was dark in his room, but through the crack in the door he saw a light. "Tommy," again came the voice. This time he knew it was no dream. He opened his eyes, looked about him, and then jumped out of the bed. His mother was already home from work and had supper prepared. "Well, son, what a sleeper you are. You slept right through all the noise I made in getting supper." "Hello, Mother. Gee, I didn't mean to sleep so long. I've been in bed since school was out. I came in with the boys. Jimmy McNamara's mother wanted to bring me home in her automobile, but I told her I needed the exercise, so I walked home." "That's fine. Now I have some good news for you. I've put an ad in the paper for a new home for us. Won't that be fine? It is about time we are getting out of this poor district. I really never did like the place, but it was the best thing we could get at that time." "And will I have to leave St. Mary's School, Mother?" "I hope not, son. I have specified that I want to live in the school area, and I hope we will be able to get something nice there. If not, we'll wait until June and then move. At least you will not have to break up your school year." "That'll be great. I would hate very much to leave all my friends, and the sisters too. They have been very good to me. And besides that, Tommy, it would not be good for your classwork. It is not very easy to get used to a new school." In a few days Mrs. Blake received a response to her advertisement, but she did not like the location of the preferred home and refused it. Then the following Wednesday a lady called at the Lawson department store and asked for Madame Bierce. "I saw your ad, Madame Bierce, and would like to take you out to see a fine apartment I have to rent. I have my car here, and if you care to come, I can take you now." "Can you wait for a few minutes? The store will be closing soon, and then I can go with you." The owner of the store appeared on the scene at that moment and overheard her words. "Don't wait, Madame Bierce," he said at once. "Go right along now. It is nearly closing time, and we can take care of the business in your department till then." While Mrs. Blake was being driven out to see the apartment, another car proceeded toward the little home where Tommy, all alone, for it was Miss Shanahan's afternoon off, was awaiting his mother's return. He sat at the dining room table doing his lessons, and momentarily expecting to hear her key in the door. Suddenly there were steps on the porch. Never doubting that they were hers, he ran to the door and threw it open. Instead of seeing his mother, he beheld the two men of the previous episode. Before the boy had time to recover his speech, one of them addressed him pleasantly. "Hello, Sonny. Is your father or mother at home?" "No, sir, neither." Thinking the interview over, he was about to shut the door when the older man said in a very quiet tone, "And the maid is also away this afternoon?" "Yes, but Mother will be home any minute now. She is usually here by this time." "No, she won't be home, Tommy. We've taken care of that." Then, turning to the partner, he said, "Come in." Tommy now became alarmed. Why had he been so foolish as to open the door without first peeping through the curtain to see who was there? That was what his mother had told him to do. Who were these men? How did they know his name? "Get your hat and coat, Tommy. You're going along with us. Don't get upset now, and don't make any noise." "Who are you? What do you want with me?" "I told you to be quiet." "What do you want? You have no business in here." "Unless you pipe down, young man, you're going to get hurt. Do you understand?" The man took hold of Tommy's hand and gripped it like a vice. "Let's get your hat and coat. That's all you'll need. Hurry up now." They led Tommy over to the hall tree, helped him on with his coat, and then headed for the door. There they paused. "See here, young man, we are not going to hurt you. You just come along with us and keep your mouth shut. That is all we ask of you. If you let a peep out of you, we'll have to gag you. Do you hear?" "Yes, sir, but where are we going? Who sent you here for me? Aren't we going to wait for Mother? She'll be worrying about me when she comes home and can't find me. Let me write a note for her, will you, please? That will keep her from worrying about me." "Don't worry about such things, Sonny. We'll take good care of you. Remember, be absolutely quiet." They opened the door and escorted Tommy out to a big car waiting at the curb. One man took the wheel, the other got into the back seat with the boy. No words were exchanged between them. Each evidently knew exactly what to do. That was no hit and miss affair, he thought. Everything had been carefully planned. They were either experienced kidnappers or well trained detectives. "We're going to have a fine ride now, Tommy. Do you recognize these streets?" "Yes, sir, I do." "Step on it, Jim. Let's get going. Well, Tommy," turning back to the boy, "you won't need to see any more for a while." Before Tommy realized what was happening, the man encircled his eyes with a heavy scarf, through which he could see nothing. The poor boy was naturally frightened, uncertain of what sinister design his captors might have. His companions evidently realized this and tried to allay his fears. "Don't be frightened, Tommy. You're in good company. We're friends of yours. There are a lot of things you will find out later, but we can't tell you now. It's too bad to treat a good little fellow like you this way, but we can't help it. It's getting dark fast, and in a short time we can take this cloth off your eyes. We just don't want you to see where we are going for a while." For some time the car sped along at an even pace. Suddenly Tommy felt it make a sharp turn, and then go on at a great increase of speed. Were they afraid that someone would follow them? Were they leaving the regular highway? Were they taking him into some cave or wood to hide him for a ransom? "It's 10 to 7, Jim. Step on the gas. We have 50-odd miles to go yet, you know." "Don't begin to worry, Charlie. We'll make it. We don't want to get there too soon." They lapsed back into silence. "Mother is home by now, isn't she?" asked Tommy. He was impelled to talk, even to his enemies, because he was beginning to feel very lonely. It was the first time in his young life that anything as strange as this had happened to him. But that was not his only motive for speaking. He wanted to hear what these men would say of his mother. He had always been very careful not to do anything to displease or disturb her, and he knew that she must already be very worried about him. "Yes, Tommy, she's at home by now. She was out looking for a new home, you know." "Yes, I know. But she'll be worrying about me, sir." "No, I left a note on the table telling her not to worry. She knows that you are in no danger, and that will be enough for her. There are other things in that note also, which I cannot tell you at present, but everything is going to work out for the best." "But did you leave her my address?" "No, I didn't. I couldn't do that now." "Does my father know about this?" "You'll find out about that later." "But you don't know how mothers are, sir. I know mine will worry." "Sorry." Tommy could tell by that lone word that the conversation was over. If they were his friends, as they claimed to be, why should they be so silent? True, they had not treated him roughly thus far, although he was completely in their power and could have done nothing if they had been ugly to him. What the future held for him, he could not guess. He offered up a silent prayer for himself and his mother. After a long pause, Tommy's companion untied the scarf and took it off in silence. It was very dark now, and the car was apparently on a country road, for there were very few lights to indicate human habitations. But as his eyes became accustomed to being without the covering, he noticed on the far horizon what seemed like the clustered illumination of a city. Toward it the machine was being driven with a steady purr. Under normal conditions Tommy would have enjoyed a ride like this. He had been used to pleasant rides through city and country all his life. It was only since he had left his father's a few months ago that he had been deprived of the luxury of an automobile. But tonight he was not enjoying himself in the least. Every additional mile that the car took him from his mother increased his anxiety and his dislike for the men who were with him. Another half hour and the car was mixing up with the city traffic. Everything was unfamiliar to Tommy, but he asked no questions. They speedily made the corner of a busy street, and above the noise of the traffic Tommy could hear the bells of several trains nearby. Then the car came to an abrupt pause in front of a large railway station, and all its occupants alighted. As they did so, the boy observed the driver give a sign to a man who stood near, and without a word this newcomer stepped into the vacated automobile and drove it away. "I'll go ahead and get the tickets, Jim." And as the man called Charlie turned toward the row of ticket windows, Tommy and his companion made their way in the direction of the exits to the tracks where already crowds awaited the opening of the gates. Above the entrances were signs announcing the train numbers and schedules and the important cities on the various routes. Tommy watched for only one thing, to see whether they were going toward the track marked New York. At first he thought they were, but suddenly his companion came to a halt. As he turned to survey the crowd, his accomplice stepped up with the tickets. "The schedule shows that the train's a few minutes late, Jim. Do you want to sit down over there? There's room for all of us, and it is a nice quiet spot." "No, thanks, Charlie. We'll be sitting long enough, don't you think? You won't mind standing a while, will you, Tommy?" "No, sir. But I want to go back to..." For a moment Tommy considered the advisability of screaming to attract the attention of the crowd and thereby possibly getting away from his captors, and they were not slow to realize that fact. "Remember what I told you. If you dare make a sound, young man, you'll never get to see your mother again. If you know what is good for you, you will obey my commands." That was the end of Tommy's thoughts of escape. The The hard lines on the face of his captor told him very forcibly that he was capable of harsh deeds as well as unpleasant words. "There's the train. She's not as late as I thought she'd be. Here comes the porter with our grips, so everything is okay." "You're going to have a fine ride, Tommy. You'll enjoy it in the morning, I'm sure, when it gets light. There will be plenty of interesting things to see along the way, especially when we get up into the mountains. We won't see any bears or Indians such as you read about in boys' books, but there will be beautiful scenery." As the train pulled in under the spread of the station, and its noise half deafened those on the platform, one of the men again reminded Tommy that he was to keep silent regarding them and his mother. "Now we're going to get on the train, Tommy. I hope it will not be necessary for me to have to remind you again of the things I spoke to you about. I'll keep an eye on you. You know I can have you locked alone in a room on the train, but I hope that will not be necessary. Come on." Without another word they entered the train, preceded by the red cap with their luggage. The sight of the suitcases secretly upset Tommy again, for up until then he had seen no luggage, and hence he felt they could not be going far. But he remembered what he had been told and tried his best to appear calm. "Lower 5 and 6, sir," said the porter as he deposited the baggage under the seats. "Thank you, sir." "Now, Tommy, take off your cap and make yourself at home. Any time you want anything, just let me know. You can have anything you want. This is going to be a fine ride for you." Tommy was having a very difficult time trying to look his part. Only the fear inspired in him by his companions kept him from screaming as the train pulled out of the station. "We'd better get into the diner, Jim, and get something to eat. It's quite late, and I'm sure Tommy is hungry by now. What do you say, boy?" "I don't care for anything." "But you must have something to eat. Come now." With a return of his old menacing attitude, the man took him by the hand. There was nothing for the boy to do but go along. He would try his best at submission, at least for the time being. Now that the train had started, he could not get off. "The diner is ahead of us, Tommy, so let's get to it." The head waiter of the dining car at once seated the three at a vacant table. Jim and Charlie made out their menu. And then Jim jotted down the things he thought a boy would like. And in spite of his depressed spirits, Tommy fell to his meal like any other healthy youngster of his age. After all, it was a wonderful meal, much like those he had had at home months before. If it had only been his mother sitting across from him instead of a frightening stranger. "How is it, Tommy?" asked Jim. "It's very good, sir." "That's the boy. I knew you'd like it." And so the meal went on until Tommy became noticeably sleepy. Then back to their seats in the Pullman went the three. "Say, Charlie, do you know how late it is?" "Not exactly, Jim, but I can tell it's beyond Tommy's bedtime." "I'm getting off at the next stop, you know." The man addressed nodded, and then said to Tommy, "I'll ring for the porter and get him to make up a berth." "I'm not very sleepy, sir. I can stay up longer." "I don't think you had better, Tommy. You need your rest." And as the porter appeared on the scene, "Porter, make up lower 6. The boy is sleepy." End of chapter 2.